I love Bleach. Bleach is great, but who am I to say so? Who am I? I'm Fredo, and I make videos on a lot of stuff, but I never made a video on anime before, and although I'm not a massive fan of anime by itself, it is a massive medium and has many awesome ideas. But Bleach has always been something I loved. For a long time, it was the only anime that I really got into. I just really wanted to get on here and make a video and express appreciation for this series. What exactly is my relationship with Bleach? Why am I talking about it today? I'm here to talk about what I think is often a quite unappreciated side of Bleach. It's filler content. And today I want to talk about a particular arc that gets a lot of flack from viewers and fans alike. One that, when I mention my favoritism of it, I get fellow Bleach watchers and fans quite upset for some reason. Yes, today we're talking about Bleach's first major filler story arc. Its earliest and longest to date, and what some people will tell you is the worst of a mixed batch of filler content, the Bount arc. But first, I want to let you know exactly who this is coming from. So I want to talk a bit about my relationship with the series before I dive into my thoughts about the Bount arc. Bleach has been a pretty slow burn on my life. I was introduced to the anime when I was maybe a bit too young and sensitive for this sort of content and story, but I still was so captivated by it. I was 10 years old and my big sister showed me, saying it was the best thing that she recently watched. We watched from the very beginning to the end of the Soul Society arc. Maybe I'll talk in another video about how disturbing and supremely captivating that first experience was, but I loved it. And over the next 5 to 6 years, I had spurs of watching the anime episode by episode. When I first watched Bleach, sometimes I knew I was watching filler content and sometimes I didn't. Often it was annoying when I didn't understand that the original story was being interrupted for content that wasn't in the original story, I suppose. Sometimes it can be frustrating when you're watching filler unknowingly, and that you don't know that the story that you're watching, its original premise, was to take a break from the main story. But an argument that some people use these days in regards to filler is that you can just skip it with an internet guide. Well, I would say we can also enjoy the filler more because we can also opt into watching these side stories. I ended the series when I was 16, aside from I didn't want it to end. So when I got to Ginjo vs Ichigo, I stopped watching. I knew the anime had been cancelled a few years ago at that point, with little hope for it to return, which has changed now. And I didn't want to run out of episodes. I didn't want no more episodes of Bleach for me to watch. I didn't want to feel like I had seen everything when I knew that there was no conclusive ending. So I never watched beyond the episode. And now in 2024, the Bleach 1000-Year Blood Warfare is currently being made, with Core 3 coming around the corner at the making of this video. I'm on my third watch of Bleach, and I've started reading some of the Bleach manga, which has blown me away again. This time, rewatching, I'm tackling the fillers first, and then going back and watching the canon story, non-stop, skipping the fillers, continuous. Now, regarding the filler, one thing I always hear people hounding about, in terms of Bleach and anime in general, is always skip the filler! Filler has a bad reputation in general, being thought as a very typically time-wasting, dead-end, low-quality, status quo-keeping jaunt that sometimes ruins momentum, muddies canon ideas and concepts, weakens the no-fat character arcs of the source material. Sorry, I kind of got a little lost in my thought there. Basically, people would strongly advocate for skipping the filler with filler guides. If you look up Bleach filler, you'll be greeted with how to skip it. I feel like this has encouraged people to believe that this stuff is not worth watching. And maybe it isn't, if you're anything like the Bleach viewers who congregated as the episodes were coming out back in the day on the My Anime List episode discussion boards, who seem to hate the Bleach anime adaptation. You're on episode 300, why are you still watching if you complain every week? I don't know. On my rewatch, I had the habit of now and again checking out Bleach episode discussions. Even on the episodes I loved, the majority of these OG viewers seem unimpressed or seem to be resentful that they're watching this series. You know you can stop watching if you're not enjoying it. If you hate Bleach or are dragging yourself begrudgingly through the series, skipping the filler is probably a good idea. But if you actually like Bleach, if you love Bleach, you'll love the filler because it's good.
Do me a favor, will you? Don't ever let me do that again. Wrong.
You made it!
Or let's go!
It's filler. It rivals the source material, with some issues, but if you love Bleach and the characters in the world, the filler, for the most part, sticks to that, has integrity, expands on the universe, and holds some interesting ideas, even referencing and building upon ideas and themes that the original series has expressed, and even some that it kind of dropped off on. I think the filler is a great opportunity to actually spend more time in a story that originally, without the filler, is incredibly fast-paced, and some concepts come and then are left by the wayside. So I'm here to talk about the Bleach fillers and my love of them, because I love Bleach, and I love the Bount arc. It's my favorite filler arc. If you look up Bleach Bount arc on YouTube, there's not many videos directly about the Bount arc, and the few that are basically just trashing on it, with maybe one video I managed to find that said like, oh yeah, the fight with Kaguya and Byakuya in the forest was cool. And there's just so much more that is just of equal quality and of better quality in this arc. I really don't understand why people dismiss it so much, but how about we give it a go, and maybe if I express why I love this arc, it can enrich the discussion online about this story. I also would like to just have a video out there that is actually praising the arc for what it does right, as well as acknowledging some of its shortcomings. So let's try this out. Now, as much as I love anything Bleach, there are still some episodes I don't like.
There you are.
What is wrong? You look pale.
It's Kinryu.
Did you find him? Where is he?
He says he's gonna commit suicide.
Well, why should I care?
Wait, what?
Wait, Ichigo. Let him do it.
And I have my wits about me. I'm willing to be a bit harsh to this thing I love. It's hard to condense a 15-hour saga that builds upon and references a much larger body of work in a YouTube video, but I'll try. The Bount arc is, well, about Bounts. The Bount are these Germanic ancient human clan with their own unique abilities and powerful Germanic vampires in Japan! So conceptually, it's a good start. But we don't start with the Bounts. The arc instead decides to start with a mini training arc before. And let's quickly talk about the placement of this arc. Placement of filler arcs is often pretty arbitrary in Bleach, although I would argue there's quite a few filler arcs that are actually well placed. It is a common complaint that halfway through a fight in the Aranka arc or
I've got Orihime. Now I'm gonna finish the job and get the Hogyoku.
What are you doing, Ichigo? Come on, you're gonna be late if you don't hurry.
Rukia? Wait, you're okay?
Huh? Are you nuts? Come on, let's go. We're gonna be late for school.
But...
you know, halfway through a fight in the Aranka arc.
Get ready, Ukiura! Here I come! Wait a minute, Ichigo.
What?
Apparently we have a programming problem. I have to temporarily suspend this battle.
What are you talking about?
The producers are shifting the storyline.
Why would they do that?
There'll just be an entire filler arc just stuffed in between there. But the Bount arc happens immediately after the Soul Society arc, which is quite a good placement as we just had a major event happening and then an episode to kind of calm things down and settle them. Our characters return back to the world of the living, and it's just the perfect place to explore because it's been established that Aizen will not attack immediately. He's retreated and our characters are in a season of waiting, and so for a new villain to come up and distract our characters in the meantime, giving us valuable time to be with them and to reinforce their growth and battle experience is not a bad idea. Before we get into the specifics of this arc, I'm just going to give a little audio spoiler warning for this arc. I'm going to be basically explaining everything. If you don't want things spoiled, just know that I think this arc is really good. Even though it has a lack of animation, it still manages to innovate. It has several excellent highlight fights in it and a really good atmosphere, as well as a lot of different types of scenes, good fight scenes, comedic moments, etc, etc. I recommend it wholeheartedly. So the Bount arc is in a bit of a weird position because at this point we had just seen the Agent of the Shimigami arc and the Soul Society arc. And that kind of is what it gives us. It gives us more of that classic Bleach feel. For the Arrancar saga, kind of changed it to be more dramatic and big and less creepy. So the creators of the filler, instead of putting the vibe of the ongoing Arrancar arc from the manga, went back to what they knew and continued to characterize the world in Karakura as seen before the Soul Society arc. And hollows would turn up. That high contrast, fuzzy highlight filter goes on. Characters act in a way that extrapolates their earlier showings, causing a slight difference in their true colors we see unraveling much later in the Arrancar arc, and more of an extension of their initial characterization. Although there are some outliers, Renji, oddly enough, is quite different, but we won't start with him. Instead, Ichigo. One thing that I always touted was a big positive for the Bount arc is that it gave a lot of room to explain Ichigo's incredible improvement. Ichigo in the Soul Society arc goes from fighting a third seat to a lieutenant to a captain to an elite captain, although looking back on it, maybe Byakuya wasn't the cream of the crop. And he does go on to have his issues in the early Arrancar arc, but to give him time and a new enemy to fight, to kind of bolster up his combat experience, to explain this dramatic increase in power, as well as in the initial section of the Bount arc, Ichigo can't use his Bankai. And it makes sense as he was going through this training very quickly, learned Bankai very quickly in the Soul Society, where Reishi is more rich and condensed. And whenever we go to the Soul Society, characters mention that they're stronger there because there's more Reishi, and vice versa. When Soul Reapers come to the world of the living, aside from Gentei Kaijo, they also recognize that they're a bit weaker there, as the Reishi is weaker also. So Ichigo can't use his Bankai in the world of the living. He hasn't learned it enough, or he's not strong enough, and so he has to rely on his Shikai, which is awesome to see more of Ichigo's Shikai. As the canon story goes on, we see less and less of it, and Ichigo needs to use his Bankai for pretty much every single fight beyond Dordoni. Uryu is a character that I used to like a lot more, and he does have kind of a highlight in this arc. Uryu has lost his power, and he doesn't tell his friends immediately, which is interesting because I don't think we really got that reaction in the canon material. Uryu is looking for a way to regain his power temporarily, but of course at the end of the arc he's going to have to lose it again so he can gain it with Ryuken, his father. Chad and Orihime also are reacting to the events that happen in the Soul Society, both of them struggled and didn't manage to accomplish too much, in the grand scheme of things at least. They're both paired up and want to train more, and we actually see a return to Orihime's fairies concept, which in the future is kind of dropped. These character designs, these voice actors, the last time we see them, I'm pretty sure, in the Bount arc.
Chad, don't you remember what happened the last time you did this? Come on, Chad, hurry! I'm sorry.
Those who have traveled to the Soul Society and learned the real truth can no longer keep their eyes closed. They can no longer keep their ears covered. But I...
Shut up, Oreo!
Renji is also interesting. He's kind of an outlier because he becomes a lot weirder and a lot more casual, and he actually becomes a bit of a wimp in this arc, only to have to kind of pull himself back together again. It kind of makes sense because he is kind of argumentative, rebellious, and unprofessional in many ways. His time in Squad 6 with Byakuya has definitely tried to tame him a bit, and the whole ordeal with Rukia definitely gave him a serious facade. But we do see him being more light-hearted and a little bit more quirkier later in the Arrancar arc, especially in the Bount arc, which is really interesting.
This is weird, even for him. Was he ever this messed up? Could he? Is he the imposter? Okay, Renji.
Huh?
Take it off.
What are you talking about?
I said take it off! If you don't, I'll take it off for you!
Hey, get off me, will ya? I'll rip it off of you! Off me! I told you to take it off! Stop!
Their own forbidden love. How sweet. Think? Just laying there.
That's not it!
Forbidden love.
Ichigo, if you and your brother want to fight, then you can do it outside.
How sweet. How sweet.
And Cone is actually funny?
Why are you trying to act like Mr. Cool? You think I don't know what's going on?
Fine, I'll take you to Udio tomorrow.
You know what you are? You're lazy, that's what you are! Why didn't you bring Rukia back? Hey, what you squeaking?
Shut up already. I never said I can't handle things yourself.
Why you, I oughta... Put a socket at you two! It's the middle of the night! Ah! What is that? I was so upset I had to count 3 herds of sheep to get to sleep, and now I'm awake, and the sheep are out of the pen because of you! Idiots! I don't have any cavities!
Whoever said that the Bount arc is just depressing and no one smiles, I actually counted the smiles, and I stopped counting because there's so many smiles. I don't know who said that, but I remember hearing that somewhere. So the first initial part of the arc is Kisuke basically makes some mod souls, like Cone, who come back as this returning trio. Ririn, Noba, my favorite, and Kurobo. Noba can teleport things, Ririn can create illusions, and Kuroro can copy people's appearance and mimic their abilities. So these 3 characters, who have these tricksy power sets, act as the antagonists for the first several episodes. They create kind of this very interesting training arc where they have to puzzle and use their head a lot more. They capture Orihime and Chad. They use an illusion of the Gates of Hell, which is interesting because we only ever saw that at the very beginning of the series, so it was nice to see the Gates of Hell appear again in the filler. I mean, obviously aside from the Hellverse movie, but it was just nice to see that concept coming back. And so this training arc has our team having to use their heads more. Uryu's kind of spearheading it, even though he doesn't have his powers because of his intellect and skills of observation. Renji and Ichigo need to stop arguing. Ichigo needs to be more patient. And it's nice to see our characters having to learn something aside from just fighting strength. But where are the Bounts? Well, we see them here. They're revealed slowly, and one of my favorite things about this Bount arc is the creepy atmosphere.
Be careful.
The use of the older tracks, as well as these new Germanic and dramatic harpsichord tracks and whispering. they had a whole new soundtrack made for the Bount arc that they later used for the main series. And a lot of really staple tracks made for the Bount arc and appear here first. It really enhances the atmosphere, especially as we're dealing with vampires, like these soul vampires. We have a lot of Germanic names and linguistic mannerisms, the naming of like the powers and stuff like that. We also see a lot of nighttime scenes, which is cool. And it's cool to see more of Karakura Town, especially as we've just seen the Soul Society arc, where we've been departed from that sort of setting for a while. I'm sure you probably noticed one of the things that people don't like about this arc, and that is the animation. I think the animation is decent to actually pretty good. Now, remember, this was early Bleach, so if we compare it to something in the Soul Society arc, the Soul Society arc has better choreography, and you could argue better animation also. At least the characters seem to stay on model more. Do keep in mind that the artist had Kubo's excellent panel work and on-model images to pull from, whilst in the filler they had to come up with it by themselves. That doesn't change the quality, but obviously it kind of makes sense that without an awesome storyboarding of the manga, it is a bit more difficult. And not to mention that the filler very, very likely had a lower budget than the canon story. So here I just wanted to do a little animation comparison. So I picked one sort of dialogue scene from the Soul Society arc and the Bount arc respectively. This was chosen at random, just to compare. And then I also chose a comparative fight scene from the Soul Society arc and Bount arc respectively. Kind of one of the more major fights that happens like in the end of the first act, or like the first third basically. So here's the comparison, and you can kind of see for yourself and draw your own conclusions in terms of the disparity of choreography and animation.
How have you been doing, Soifone? Are you getting used to your role here with the Force? What is that buzzing sound I'm hearing? Buzz, buzz.
Now beat that cowardice out of you!
Yeah? I'd like to see you try.
About time you showed some spirit. Why don't you take it from here?
Huh?
But I guess if you're afraid...
What'd you say?
That's the spirit, now get in there!
This time, it's calm and controlled, and without a doubt, it's much stronger.
When you protect someone, don't let him die. When you attack, kill!
He got me. What was that just now? What was it? Something more?
Let's do this!
Has to run! You cannot see my sword no matter how hard you may try to!
So that was the full power of your Zanpakuto, huh? Well, in that case...
In that case, what?
I'll keep coming!
I'm not about to make it that easy.
It seems that they were working with a lower budget, but the animators still managed to innovate and ruminate on ideas to buff up Bleach's repertoire for when the canon material returned, after a long 45-ish episodes, we can see a difference. So even if you skip the Bount arc, I feel like you need to at least give it credit for what it did for Bleach's animation repertoire and its artistic style. The Bount arc did something completely new with the animation that you don't see earlier in Bleach, and you don't really see later in Bleach much either. But let's get back to some of the Bounts. We have cool powers, we have water boys, we have Zygadich Dolch, we have Uryu's weird character development, where he's a little bit pathetic because he has no powers and he latches onto this lady Bount, because he has motherly issues, and also relates to the fact that the Bounts are also a Germanic tribe that only has a remnant left of it. It's a little strange, but either way, it's important to know that Uryu has a part to play with the Bounts. He has some kinship in some way, some opposition, and he really likes this Bount in particular. There's this cool assault on the manor. We get to see more Bounts. The main villain. We see Ichinose, this disgruntled Soul Reaper who's joined the Bounts. You know how I mentioned animation innovation? Well, this is awesome animation. So this is so cool. I absolutely love this fight. I remember even when I watched this back in the day, maybe when I was 14, when I went to go rewatch Bleach for the first time a few years ago, I remember Ichigo versus Ichinose was awesome, and it is. There's this exaggerated perspective, exaggerated movement, much sharper character poses, and it just turns on during this fight, and turns on during a lot of the major fights in this arc. Yes, it's a bit low budget, and a lot of the slower moments are either just decent or maybe a little wonky, but when they want to consolidate their budget into a fight, they at least do it with innovation, and they have this new flair and edginess to the character drawings in these speedy and so potent fight scenes. I really like this animation style, and it would be cool to see more of this in Bleach, but also I really like the other animation styles that Bleach goes through. Karia is cool, there's cool dialogue. This guy has awesome dialogue, by the way, I like him.
No comment.
So you're involved in some scheme that you refuse to reveal?
I won't comment on that either. Do you mind if I ask you a question? The soul of a human being or that of a Soul Reaper, which do you suppose tastes better? 5 on 1 doesn't seem very fair now, does it? If the snake's venom turn her into something unrecognizable, that is a possibility. He's not only brave, he's intelligent. Now, come over here. I can't tell you how much it hurts that you would even question my integrity. Sometimes I like to play with my food before I dine. The one who acts as leader must be truly exceptional, with qualities like mine, not Karia's.
Like arrogance and stupidity?
Quit acting like you're in charge! I have your mancho here and I'll...
Why do you keep telling me that? Am I supposed to be impressed?
Uryu's mom dies, which is a very emotional moment, hopefully a growth moment for Uryu.
This way of dying is just fine.
Don't go.
Your eyes are so intense. The proud last Quincy.
And there's these new dolls. It's very difficult to condense an arc into a video, but I'm just gonna kind of go through all like the highlights and a few lowlights I remember of this arc. So we have the Ichigo versus Koga fight, which Koga's one of my favorite characters, and he gets banged up, and we get a cool hollow moment, although it kind of is repeating over old ground. The filler does do that is an issue. It does. It's kind of like, we kind of already did this, but also it has enough flair and enough newness for it to still be a cool moment. Izuru appears and kind of saves Ichigo from the fight, one of my favorite characters, and he has a really good matching against Dolch. And here we have some Soul Reaper seated officers and lieutenants show up to kind of address the issue of the Bounts, which is cool. And again, we get to see some interesting flangerization of these characters, where characters like Shuhei we really didn't see much of at all before the Arrancar arc. So Shuhei is more plain and direct, but it's still really cool and edgy. Rangiku appears to be a bit more ditzy.
Haven't seen you in ages, Chad. What have you been up to?
Why are you here?
It's dumb luck that I ran into you like this. Out of the blue, my captain just says to me, Rangiku, I want you to go to the world of the living. It's been so long that I'm completely out of touch with everywhere you look. There's always so much to see.
Listen, Rangiku.
What is it? Oh, are those two friends of yours? Thanks for helping out. What's the deal? I said thank you, not zip it. Hey.
He's kinda shy.
And Yumachika's dialogue is super bad. I like Yumachika a lot, but pretty much every line of his in this arc is like, this is an ugly technique. Wow, I'm so pretty and I don't like ugly. It's pretty bad, I have to be honest. But we have this cool doll where they're infiltrating. There's this second assault on the Bount hideout. They have this cool game, like card game thing. And we have an important moment with Renji where he recognizes that he's getting lazy and he's struggling with simple fights and he can't allow himself to do that. He uses Bankai and basically gives our main character a chance to advance to the main Bount hideout. So that's pretty cool. Ichigo versus Karia is pretty brutal. Ichigo, again, can't use his Bankai. And there's some interesting dialogue. Ichigo even asks if Karia is affiliated with Aizen, which is an interesting way to kind of show that, hey, these characters are still interested in Aizen and still worried about him. They really messed with his head. Can we trust anyone right now? But yes, it's a brutal fight. I just want to show this clip because this is such a brutal fight.
Zangetsu. Soul Reaper Zanpakuto is another incarnation of himself, yes? You consider this sword as your partner. Just imagine if you were killed by that partner. How ironic.
And Karia is about to run Ichigo through Zangetsu. We get a really cool moment where Ichigo, just like with versus Kenpachi, he has a moment where he turns to Zangetsu and he accepts the blade and he turns things around and knows that he's not fighting alone. He gets to recover his Bankai. We get a cool fighting section. And then stupid Uryu turns up. He lets the Bounts enter the Soul Society when they couldn't have done that without him. But then he's also like, but I want to fight you guys. Because there's this whole thing about, oh, will Uryu join the Bounts? Or will he, because he liked that Bount, and he's also a Quincy, so that I like. But also they fought in the past. Uryu's kind of motherly figure Bount died. Is he going to take revenge on Karia? You think so, but oh no, he helps the Bounts get into the Soul Society, which is exactly what they want. Because up to this point, we thought maybe they're going to Waco Mundo for some reason, but no, they're going to the Soul Society. And Uryu helps them go to the Soul Society, but he's like, I only helped you go to the Soul Society because I want to fight you there, and I want to beat you because I got this new bow that Mayuri gave me because Ichinose is sneaking around in the Soul Society. And it manipulated Mayuri, and Mayuri gets angry when he realizes this later, but he doesn't realize this now. And there's a cool scene with Kyoraku, which I'll show at the end of the video. And then Uryu's like, I don't like, I want to fight you in the Soul Society so I can beat you with this new bow I got. And then everybody's like, what the, Uryu, are you actually stupid?
He's only brave, he's not intelligent.
You were clever at the beginning of this arc. Now you're stupid because I guess that lady, you're grieving or something? Yeah. I'm stronger in the Soul Society, so I want to fight the Bounts in the Soul Society, so I can win. And Ichigo's like, are you stupid? I'm stronger in this. I had my Bankai in the Soul Society. I just got it back. The Bounts are also stronger in the Soul Society, nitwit. And you're just like, oh, I didn't know that. So it's that bit's really stupid. I'll be fair. But they forgive Uryu, and now the Soul Society section happens. So you'll notice that we've already kind of gone through 20 episodes. So we've already done an arc, but the Bount arc is long. So there's another arc. The Assault on the Soul Society arc, the Seirete Assault. Bount arc's just long. It's just like double-sized. The first section of the Bount Soul Society invasion, I'm going to skip over because it's okay, but it's not great. They're basically just hiding out in the Rokongai district in Kusajishi and stuff. We get to see some characters again. We got to see Ganju, by the way, in the World of the Living. That was pretty awesome.
Look at that! It's an alien! Boy, I'm getting too old for this.
Ganju! Hey, what's going on?
Anataro, what the hell are you doing here?
I was gonna ask you that. That's the police. We gotta get out of here right away.
We do get some really good fights. The aforementioned Byakuya versus Karia versus Ichigo fight in the forest. We get an absolutely awesome Zaraki versus Ichinose, probably one of the best fights in this arc. Absolutely excellent.
Come on! Izaraki!
Seems your hatred wasn't enough.
Kenny, did you?
I gave it everything I had.
We also are introduced to Rantau, who was running the experiments that incidentally interrupted the cycle of rebirth and created the Bounts. He was like banished to the Rukongai or something, and she's ancient, so she has to like sleep 18 hours a day like a sloth. The Bounts assault the Soul Society using a mob of Kusajishi residents. They then like abandon them. So that's kind of, you know, kind of messed up Karia. What the heck? A few of them were quite disappointing with the animation and everything. But we do get to see some pretty cool fights also. We hear about the Jokai Crest. We get like Karia versus Ichigo and Chad, which is a really fun mix-up. Uryu gets a pretty cool fight also. There's some interesting stuff with Soifone. But basically, we're going to skip to the big showdown. Aside from, I want to mention Koga. We get some cool flashbacks with Koga. It's cool to see like a period piece in Bleach, like this Germanic period piece. It's cool. And really adds to Koga's character also.
No, don't tell me. Kane.
Basically all the Bounts are dead at this point. It's just Koga and Karia, and they go in an alleyway, and again, this was way before Gin and Aizen, but it gives me Gin and Aizen vibes in a way, you know what I'm saying? Koga basically realizes that Karia doesn't care about the Bounts and just wants revenge and just wants to destroy the Soul Society, not like rebuild it or like make something better. He just wants utter destruction. And so Koga doesn't like that, because he doesn't like destruction, but he is willing to, you know, kill and to destroy some things for the sake of the greater good, but he realizes that Karia has been tricking and using the Bounts. He doesn't care about the Bounts at all. In fact, he probably wants to see them go extinct, as well as the Soul Society. Karia kills Koga, but Koga's still alive, and so Koga fights Hitsugaya because he wants to reach Karia, but Hitsugaya does his duty and kills Koga. It's very sad. But we turn our attention to the final showdown. Karia is ready. He's got the Jokai Crest. Things are going pretty crazy. He's gonna become incredibly strong, apparently. He's gonna blow up the Soul Society. So you know who's gonna show up? My boy. No, it's Rantau. Rantau has this cool thing. Tries to fight Karia. Doesn't go well. Uryu comes in, saves them. They have a little fight. It's pretty good. Rantau does this thing. She injures Karia and ends up endangering herself. Uryu, instead of taking the opportunity to kill Karia, ends up saving Rantau because she looks like Yoshi. He's still upset about that. That's what he like wants to take revenge on Karia for killing Yoshi. But then also Rantau looks like Yoshi, and he decides to save instead of to kill.
You don't have to worry about me. I used this power knowing full well that this would happen.
Yes, but
no more talk. You've got to hurry before Karia can recover. Hurry! This is your only chance.
You will pay for that.
But that means Karia is pretty miffed, and Uryu uses the last of his artifacts power, and it breaks, and now he has no powers again. Ichigo comes in, saves the day, and let me just say, I don't remember this final fight being very good. And I remember hearing a lot of criticism about it, especially the dialogue. And to be honest, the dialogue's not great, but I don't think it's super cringy. It's decent. But that the fight itself, I was not prepared for this. Because I don't remember it being... I remember Ichinosei's fights. I even kind of remember Byakuya versus Karia. But I remembered the final bit of the Ichigo versus Karia fight on Sokyoku Hill, which again it's kind of like the ending of the Soul Society. They go on Sokyoku Hill, but before they do that, I really loved the first half of this fight with Ichigo versus Karia, because they fly off and now they're like jumping and flying across the Soul Society, fighting with that warping perspective. Karia using his hands, and I really like how Karia moves. We get some really cool shots and choreography, and it's just really impressive, and Rivals kind of has that same sort of style and movement and energy as Ichigo versus Ichinosei that I was praising earlier. So this part of the fight is excellent. The writing when it comes to like, oh, the other Jokai crests, and they're all trying to seal it, and that it kind of complicates it, and I had issues with it. I was like, if it goes this way, it just doesn't make much sense. But it ended up not being awful. It didn't end up being great. It was kind of inconsequential. Ichinosei turns up and, you know, says the same similar things to what Koga says. He's like, oh, and before I wanted to see the Soul Society get destroyed, but I realized I hated the Soul Society because of how bad it became, and I want to change it for the good. I always wanted it to be better. And that's a sentiment I can reflect on with like the Earth and global warming and stuff. You know, sometimes it's like, screw it, humans are like this infectious plague. The Earth would be better without humans. But at the same time, us humans who've made things worse, we can also make it better. And Karia doesn't like it because he just wants to blow stuff up. So he kills Ichinosei, which is another fake out death. And talking about fake out death, Koga's also alive. Yay! But will he outlive Karia? Yes, because Ichigo and Karia clash, and we get ending to the fight that's similar to Ichigo versus Byakuya from the Soul Society arc, of this like final clash, and then they one falls down, and then one's like, actually I didn't win, I lost. And it's kind of shot weird. We kind of just see him standing there, Ichigo falls down, and then Ichigo gets covered in dust, and we figure out, oh, it's Karia. I actually didn't catch that when I watched it recently, and I was like, wait, what happened to Karia? But no, he just got turned to dust. It's a little bit anticlimactic, kind of cool maybe, but Ichigo's best friend, Chad, catches him, and no one else shows up. Koga does survive, and he is the final remaining Bount that's alive, and he asks Yoruichi to thank Ichigo for taking down Karia. And that's it. That's the Bount arc, guys. So I absolutely love a lot of the elements and inclusions to this arc. I appreciate the style it has, even though the budget was lower, likely lower. And I think it has a lot of really good fights. It also has plenty of fights that weren't so great, but compared to other filler arcs, I feel like this the Bount arc has a lot more highlights, and it has unique style. Absolutely has a unique style, for better and for worse in some ways. And I really love the atmosphere of the beginning of it, of the first half.
Oh, I can't take it anymore! That thing's driving me crazy! Oh, that's great. The stupid thing's broken. Fancy hospital of Urius is a piece of junk.
When they enter the Soul Society, it does go down a bit. It still has these three excellent, or four excellent standout fights with Hitsugaya versus Koga, Byakuya versus Karia, Ichinosei versus Zaraki, and Ichigo versus Karia, final 4th round or whatever. So yeah, I think it kind of pulls it back near the end. We get some better fights, but there's definitely a bit where it does lull a little. But there's plenty of other things aside from the fights: comedic moments, character exploration, seeing the Hog Riders again. There's so much good to this arc, and it's not perfect, but it really is one of my favorite arcs. Some of the best atmosphere. I think the Germanic vampires are awesome. I love a lot of the Dolk abilities, the card deck thing, the creepiness of the water bit, the bit where it rains. It grounds Bleach and has this tension before it gets so big and bombastic with the Arrancar arc. I really like it, and we still get some bombasticity, if that's a word. Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Bount arc. This is the first video I've ever made like this, so I'm sorry if it is not too condensed. I don't know about Ranty, but I hope I did a good job, and I hope this kind of got across reasons why I love the Bount arc and why I think it's good. I guess I'll just quickly go over things again in case I missed stuff. So the fight, the animation style is all great, the atmosphere, returning characters, getting to see more of the characters in like an earlier state and form, especially the Soul Reapers. Some great character moments, there's really good comedic bits. We get more time with Chad and Ichigo's Shikai, period piece backstories. For the bad, we have some off-character models and stuff. Sometimes the animation is pretty cheap. Sometimes characters act a little peculiarly, but it usually pays off towards something. We have a focus on Uryu, and it is quite emotional, but it does also make me dislike Uryu more. Very final climax of the final fight was a little bit lacking, but otherwise I would give this arc, if I was to be super critical, I would give this arc a B+. I'd give it a B+. If like an A star was the best, I'd give this arc a B+. And it's one of my favorites of my favorite TV show ever, my favorite anime. I love it. I love Bleach, and I hope I didn't come across too much of a mega fan, blindless mega fan, and I hope I didn't come off as too nitpicky either. I hope I balance my criticisms and my praises. But yeah, let it be known that on YouTube there is a video where some person, some gal like me, says the Bount arc is great and one of the best Bleach arcs. Thank you, goodbye. Hey, you still watching? Thank you so much for listening / watching to this video. Again, this is my first time making a video like this, but I made this video because later in the year I plan on making a really big, massive Bleach video that will encompass the entire series, filler or not, and I wanted to make this video just to use some of my findings and digest some of my thoughts that I had rewatching the Bount arc. So expect more content like this coming, and expect a big project near the end of the year. And if you love Bleach, please tell me why in the comments. If you hate the Bount arc, why? Thank you for watching the video, and feel free to comment if you want. But I've heard plenty of slander on the Bount arc. But yeah, share if you want to. I'll read it. I might chat with you in the comments. But I feel like I've sort of displayed a lot of my feelings and thoughts about the Bount arc in this video. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching to the end of the video, and peace out. Have a lovely day.